Hey boos, so today's real talk is in reference to this whole controversy with Viola Davis. And Viola Davis is the actress from The Help, which I've never seen, but she's from The Help, and she's been making headlines because there was a New York Times article, and she's a dark-skinned woman and an actress and woman of a, I think she's like 50 something, you know, an older person. Anyway, so there was a New York Times article, and the writer described Viola Davis as being not classically beautiful or not classically pretty. And yeah, like that was deep for me. Like I literally choked up. And let me go into it a little bit more. So Viola's response to this was that, and it was on The View, and she said that being described as not classically beautiful or not classically pretty is a nice way of saying ugly. And her response was very poised and eloquent, and she said all of the right things, the things that you would expect her or like a Michelle Obama to say. But I guess I'm going to say what she didn't say, which is it really hurt my feelings. Like it literally, like I cried, like tears, and I got all in my feelings over it. And because it just immediately took me a few places. It took me to being 6 years old and in a dance class, and where I was the only black girl there, and you know, weeks would go on and no one would talk to me, and I kind of thought it was because I was black, because I was like, well, that's the only thing that makes me different from these other girls, and they're not talking to me. But it was made clear to me when one of the girls, literally, it was after class one day, and one girl was like, you know, curious enough to want to talk to me, and then she was like looking at my scalp, and she was like, hey, your scalp is brown. And I'm like, yeah, you know, so is it my face. You know, like, what do you mean my scalp? Of course. And she's like, well, I know, that's why nobody likes you here. Yeah, that hurt my feelings. And yeah, and it took me to that. And so I remember that, like, here we are 20 plus years later, and I still remember that moment. And it was defining for me, in that I realized that there was a perception of me that people would hold, and the perception is being formed by something that I can't help, like my skin color. And so, you know, growing older, I began to adopt this idea that I had to be the exception to the rule. I had to be completely different from what anyone would expect. So I had to be, and it manifested itself when I was in my teen years, in that I had to have like the best clothes, and my hair had to always be right. You know, I never missed a hair appointment. I was always getting those, you know, my touch up and my roller set and my nails done. And I only wore MAC makeup and prescriptives. Is there still prescriptives? Anyway, like that was the makeup that I wore, and that was it. And I held on to this belief, and I was really like proud of myself. Like, yeah, I'm, you know, you know, some classmates of mine even used to call me as classy black, and I was proud of that. Like, I know it's awful, but I was proud of that. I was like, yeah, you know, you ain't gonna see me and think I'm, you know, whatever. And all my little girlfriends in high school, and, you know, in high school were light-skinned and very pretty, and, you know, I didn't think I was ugly, but they always had boyfriends, and I never did. Granted, I had a brother who was like, you know, a big old block, so that was probably why I didn't have a boyfriend. But, you know, and I had low self-esteem and all those things that girls have. But they always had boyfriends. They always got the attention. And I never did. I never, ever did. And, you know, it was wrapped up in feeling somehow being, not only being black, so I had to be something that the white people didn't expect. But then even within my own community, I felt I also felt excluded because I was a darker skinned black girl. And, you know, and I could do nothing about that. And so, and I'll be completely real with you guys. I'm Haitian. My parents are Haitian. But we got some mixing in there, you know, on my mom's side. And I used to like blow that up. You know, oh, I'm part, you know, whatever. Because, you know, and it's ridiculous. Because if you look at me, I mean, I don't look at all mixed with anything but being black. You know, I look like I, you know, have West African roots, and that's just the reality of it. I'm, you know, a black girl from my parents are from the Caribbean and whatever. But I used to blow that up to kind of make myself feel relevant, even within my own community. You know what I mean? Even amongst black people, I felt like I had to somehow you know, somehow make up for having darker skin and kinky hair and full lips and a full nose and all of these things. And I'm sorry, it's taken me a minute to kind of bring this all around. And so reading that, again, it brought me back, you know. So here I am in a college at this point, and I stepped outside, and this was me being, and I was classy black at this point, remember, I was classy black. And I stepped outside of my dorm room because these girls were in the hallway acting a fool, and I lived in a quiet dorm. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I was like, can you guys, like, seriously shut the fuck up? You know what I mean? Shut the F up. So I told these girls to be quiet, or asked them to be whatever. And one girl looked at me and she's like, can you just go back to Africa? And it was like, again, that moment where I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't effing matter. No matter how much you are the exception to the rule, no matter how much you show, you know, education and whatever you are, for some people, and unfortunately for the majority, you will always just be a black person. And the perception of that is that you don't belong. And so this article in which this woman defines, and this is supposed to be about her taking on this new role, and she's a sexy character, and I'm like, why are we reducing her to less than what she deserves? In that moment, I mean, even Viola said it's, you know, it's a nice way of saying you're ugly, and it reduces you, it erases you. And, you know, she said the right things, and she said it doesn't bother her now, and she, you know, loves herself, all the wonderful things that people are supposed to say, right? But for me, and I love myself, but in real talk, it hurt my feelings. It really took me to those places, and it's like, gosh, no matter what you do, and it, you know, reminds me even here now in the workplace, you know, I'm a black woman in an environment where I feel as though I'm not able to advance myself professionally, and you have all these odds against you. And yes, there's Michelle Obama in office with her husband. You know, there is, you know, Oprah. There are the Viola Davises. We have examples, and after, you know, all these examples of women of color, black women, dark-skinned black women who are capable and able and whatever, and it feels as though it doesn't matter. And so the point of this is just that I feel as though, I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place, but really what I want to say is that this shit's real. Like, and we've all had these experiences that make you feel as though maybe I have more work to do. Maybe, you know, even though I'm, you know, however old, and I do YouTube videos, I know how to do my makeup, I'm like, in a moment, I can be taken back to being 6 years old and told nobody likes you here because you're black, or being 18 and being told to go back to Africa. I mean, I've got more examples of this all over the place. Or being surrounded by my pretty light-skinned girlfriends and feeling less than, and feeling ugly, and feeling, God, just all that stuff. And so I'm saying the things that maybe Viola didn't say in her very poised and eloquent response of, you know, of course you don't want to give people who've hurt you the power or the knowledge that they've hurt you. But you know, I'm going to say it anyway, and that stuff still runs deep for a lot of us. And I'm one of those girls who did not love herself growing up, and who wasn't told wonderful things about herself and whatever, that is what it is. But I just want to say that I think it's okay to have a moment and feel like, you know, something hurts your feelings, particularly as women, black women or whomever. You know, when somebody calls you ugly, no matter how they may say it, and especially in the New York Times, it hurts your feelings, and it's fucked up. And real talk, I think it's okay to say that, and it doesn't make you less powerful. You know, people will often say, oh, you know, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about you, it's what you think about yourself. And I mean, that's all well and good, and that's very true. Yes, when you think about yourself matters. But I'll be the first to tell you, when somebody calls you ugly or says unkind things to you, it hurts your fucking feelings. Real talk. And it's okay for you to say that. Is it okay for you to stay in that place and really believe it and feel ugly and not want to go on with your life and da 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 da? But no. You know, no, that's not okay. That needs to be dealt with in therapy or whatever, you know, to deal with that stuff. But I think it's okay to have a moment. And I had a moment today. I had a moment because that wasn't nice. It was really cruel. It was demeaning. And especially because it was written, I have a really strong appreciation for the written word because I have an MFA in writing, and I spent 2 years of my life learning that craft, and I went to a really good writing school, and you know, for me, anything written, it holds a whole lot of weight. And I can't, you know, this person who wrote this article probably has no idea that it affected so many of us who are darker skinned women who are not classically beautiful, whatever classic beauty means. Of course, when the woman says not classically beautiful, you know she means ugly, because what is a classic beauty? She don't look like me or Viola. But I'm still okay. That's the point of this all. Is that I had a moment, had a real talk moment, and it wasn't right, but I'm okay. And you'll be okay too if you ever have a moment. Okay, thanks so much for watching. And ladies, if you've got a real talk subject that you want to talk about at all, of course, you can message me, you can leave it below, whatever you want. And the next time I feel inspired, I'll sit down here and talk to you guys about whatever's going on, okay? Thanks so much for watching. Bye.